something about anthropology. This is orientation session related to anthropology optional, how good it is. Can you people manage with anthropology optional? Is it scoring? Does it push you into IAS or from no service to any service, from any service to IAS? Okay. So I hope you are aware of that. Anthropology or any optional for that matter plays a very important role in your success. For example, to begin with, your optional, essay, ethics, these are very important to score good in mains and then get into service, right? So why anthropology? Most of you who are from non-biology background might be having some apprehensions or some doubts or some fears in your mind that is it suitable for us? Because in anthropology, and the word itself is very new to you, unlike economics, public administration, geography, history, political science, etc., sociology. And in anthropology, we are supposed to study some biology related concepts. And I'm sure most of you are scared of that part, right? Because I think in your 10th class, you might have studied biology to some extent. That class where your faculty or teacher is very shy and you are shy to listen to some chapters in biology, predominantly human reproduction system, right? But in anthropology optional, the kind of syllabus we got from UPSC, it will help you to understand the very fundamentals or basics in anthropology. We try to build the conceptual understanding from very basics to next level or advanced concepts. For example, those who have got some clarity in GS, if I ask you about inflation or if I ask you about balance of payment, current account deficit, are you aware of these terminologies before you started your preparation in UPSC? No, right? You never heard these things. But today if I ask you what is GDP, what is inflation, how tough it is for you to understand, recollect, right? Is it as tough as it used to be before you started your preparation? No. Why? Because you started listening to it, reading it, and you understood the concept. As a result, what is the outcome? Familiarity. The more familiar you are with terminologies, with concepts, that will help you to understand and it will help you to create a kind of affection towards subject. You need to love the subject you are reading. And trust me, anthropology is one that lovable subject. I'll explain why. Have you ever wondered why you look like your mother or father or grandfather, grandmother? Never heard these comparisons in daily life? Say in your relatives, a baby is born, and what kind of comments you hear about the baby? She looks like somebody in the family. Have you ever wondered why the features are very similar and why people make some comparisons? It is because of genetics. You inherit your traits or qualities from your parents. That we study in physical anthropology, right? So I want to explain within few minutes why and how anthropology is interesting and how and why it is scoring. And to begin with, what is anthropology? It is a study of humans. That means study of man. In this case, man is gender neutral. When I say study of man, it includes every human being right from the origin of humans. Most of you who believe in religion or God, you might have heard about different stories about how you and I were created, right? Namutara Devunni, do you believe in God? Yes or no? Yes. So who created you? God? Right? Every religion says you are created, right? That was a misconception. We are not created, we evolved. That means, as I said, anthropology is interesting. Why it is interesting? We debate on the reason that how you and I came into this world, how we got this present shape, how we are walking on two legs while our ancestors are walking on four limbs, quadrupedals. Any creature walking on four limbs, we call it as quadrupedal, and we are bipedal. Why? You got two legs. Though you got two hands, I think you don't use them for walking, right? That means There is a difference between your ancestors and you. What do you mean by that? Evolution. What is evolution? Gradual change. Anything which changes gradually leads to what? Change in structure. Have you seen monkeys? How they walk? Have you seen me how I walked into the class? Is there any difference? In course of evolution, you find the difference and you call it as a change across what? Time. So, anthropology is study of human beings, and it is a kind of looking at how human society or culture came into existence. And in anthropology, there are four major branches. In terms of socio-cultural anthropology and physical anthropology, there are two more. They are called as archaeological anthropology and linguistic anthropology. I'll give a brief explanation about these four branches and then we go to the next slide. What is physical anthropology or biological anthropology? This physical or biological anthropology explains you to understand about basics of human anatomy. For example, most of you, while you were playing, you got injured, right? There was a scratch on your wrist or hands, right? How that injury healed over a period of time? Whether you apply some medicine, whether you don't apply some medicine, what happens to that if I get a scratch here? After 4 or 5 days, how it looks like? There will be thick black surface forming on it. And what do? We don't keep quiet, right? We constantly, we try to peel off that. And then you could see flesh, green or pink color layer inside it, right? After some days, again it turns into black. What do you call that? Cell division. Your injuries, they heal on their own. Why? Because of a concept called cell division. Have you heard about DNA? Generally, in the recent times, we hear this DNA in the context of politics. Corruption what DNA lo undantaru. KCR ni Revanth Reddy KCR. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by corruption in somebody's DNA? That means if something is in your DNA, it cannot go away. And the traits you are having, for example, you are fair, you are dark, you are tall, you are short, I am dark. Why these traits are visible in ours, in our physical or in our anatomy, in our physical structure? Because you inherit them from your parents and that is in your DNA. And from you it will be transmitted to your children. What do you mean by that? Young generation. What do you call that? Transmission of traits, right? So in physical anthropology, we study about very basic concepts, like to begin with, what is a cell, what is cell division, what is DNA, what is chromosome, what is protein synthesis, etc. And then we study genetics, and then we study chromosomal aberrations, and then we study some laws. And then in physical anthropology, we study about human diseases. I think most of you have heard about COVID-19. What is it? Is it a bacteria or virus? Virus. That means by this time you got some basic understanding about diseases. Diseases are two types. One is viral diseases, bacterial diseases. And you might have heard another classification of diseases. What is that? Have you heard about something called non-communicable and communicable diseases? And which is more in the recent times? Non-communicable. What do you call them? Lifestyle diseases. What is a lifestyle disease? Cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, blood pressure. What do you call that? And these are increasing in the recent times. So in physical anthropology, we study about human diseases. Also we study about human growth and development. What do you mean by human growth and development? Have you ever wondered how from basic cell a total human being develops inside mother's womb and it comes out? How it happens? Through fertilization. What takes place in fertilization? When sperm meets egg in the fallopian tube of a female reproductive system, what happens? A zygote is formed. The zygote multiplies into a total human being with various limbs, etc. And the baby is taken out. And if you observe, fundamental difference between human babies and animal babies. Anybody from rural India? Villages? Seems like everybody is from urban India. Nobody from rural areas or village background? Acha. Okay. What did you see in terms of a newly born calf to a buffalo or cow? దూడ పుట్టడం చూసారు ఎప్పుడైనా? How does it behaves the moment it is taken out of its mother's womb? కింద పడుతుంది, it will fall down, right? That is how cows and buffaloes deliver. అక్కడేం లేదు. Cows and buffaloes deliver, right? What does it do after 2 hours? It will stand on its own legs. When was the last time we did that? How many years we require to stand on our own legs after we come out of our mother's womb? 2 years. When buffalo is, calf is doing that in 2 hours, why you take 2 years? That is interesting, right? So all these questions are answered in physical anthropology. There is a chapter called Growth and Development where we study natal growth, neonatal growth, child growth, adolescent stage, youth stage, maturity, and senescence. Senescence means old age. Most of you, I think you are in youth stage. Youth kadamma meeru? Are? Kada? What do you mean by youth? In this age in which you are, do you increase in height? Why? There is no growth in height. Chalo, what about increase in weight? Sorry? Full. Good, I liked it. Now, apart from this, when you are in 10-12 year age group, what happens to your height? It will increase. What do you mean by that? There is something called hypothalamus in your brain, and it will influence certain hormones in your brain, in your body. They are LSH and FSH, that means follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. As a result, what happens? It leads to changes in your growth potential. As a result, what happens? Your height will increase. And particularly if you observe boys at a very adolescent age, you could see transition of their voice, right? Up to 10-12 years, you can't differentiate a boy's voice from a girl's voice. Both look or both appear very similar. Now, I think I don't sound like a woman. Am I? Am I sounding like a woman? No, right? Why? Because after adolescence, there are different changes you see in males and females. We study that in growth and development chapter. And then in another chapter where we study about population theories, and we study about puberty in females, menstruation, menarche in females, fertility patterns, etc. And then in physical anthropology, the last chapter is forensic anthropology. The moment I say forensic anthropology, it is very, very interesting. For example, most of you might have seen a television series called CID. Right? Very popular series, television series. Chodra amma chustaru. Okay. So what is most interesting in that? Forensics. How forensics help to establish crime. Forensic anthropology helps law enforcing agencies to establish crimes and to identify criminals, and it will be used as evidence in the court of law so that criminals are punished. How it happens, how forensic anthropology helps in this process, we study in physical anthropology. So in a nutshell, this is what we study in physical anthropology. And as I said, it is very interesting. Apart from this, one more thing as far as physical anthropology is concerned is we study about human evolution. What is evolution? Gradual change. Evolution must begin from a particular point. For example, what is the beginning of your UPSC journey? Maybe the thought that cropped in your mind to prepare for UPSC. From then, getting into service, what do you call that? The journey of UPSC. And it takes some time, right? What do you call that? That is evolution of an individual into an IAS officer. right? Likewise, in human evolution also, there is something called origin of humans. What is origin of humans? Some time ago, you are not like this. You are quadrupedals, living on branches of trees. Because of some social changes, cultural changes, because of change in habitation, because of change in food habits, today you got this shape. The present structure which you are seeing in me, it is the result of millions of years of change happened, right? So to begin with, our ancestors are Australopithecus, and today we are called as Homo sapiens, right? How this journey takes place, we study in human evolution. And then coming to socio-cultural anthropology, it is all about understanding your society, understanding your culture, and understanding the comprehensive behavioral patterns of human being. For example, some of you do have that kumkum on your forehead, right? You do not have that. You do got that bindi on your forehead, you do not have bindi. Why? And you dress differently, and somebody is wearing t-shirt, somebody is wearing shirt, I'm wearing kurta. Why? What do you call this? Dress pattern. Why people in different societies dress differently? Have you seen people living in Jammu and Kashmir? How do they dress? They wear something called feran, P-H-E-R-A-N. Feran. What is feran? It appears like a long gown from neck to toes. You can't differentiate who is male or who is female. Why? Everybody wears same kind of dress, and at times we make fun of them, don't we? Why? And have you seen how Tamilians dress themselves during peak summer? They wear dhoti, and mostly, since you said you're from village, how does middle-aged men and old people roam in villages during summers? They do have something to sit outside their houses, right? Do they wear shirts? Mostly they are shirtless, half naked, right? Exhibiting their six packs, right? I'm not sure about that, but they don't wear shirts. At the same time, in Jammu and Kashmir, somebody is covering their whole body. What do you call that? Difference in dress pattern. Why? Because of difference in culture. Everything you do in a daily life is part of your culture. If you ask me to define what is culture, I would say way of life, to put it very simply. Then, what do you study in socio-cultural anthropology? We study about different socio-cultural institutions. What are they? Marriage, family, kinship, economic organization, political organization, religion. We study about these 6 institutions in the context of socio-cultural anthropology. If you ask me, is marriage necessary in contemporary times? Everybody in the class might be having their own opinion, right? You might be having your own viewpoint. For example, somebody may prefer a live-in relationship, somebody may want to be a bachelor or spinster throughout their life, and somebody want to get married as soon as possible. Why different or 3 approaches in the context of is marriage necessary in contemporary times? Because everybody in a society do have their own perception towards socio-cultural institutions. And if I ask you, how many of you in the class doesn't believe in God? Raise your hands. Very good. So rest of you, you do believe in God. Who is right? Sorry, who is right? Come again, I didn't hear you. Believers. Who is a believer? Those who believe in God. Achha. You tell me which religion says you have evolved but not created by God. No religion. Therefore, religion is against science. Religion is against science. Science says you evolved from apes or monkeys, but religion says God carefully created you. What do you mean by that? So as far as exam is concerned, if you believe in God, don't write God created human beings, because you don't get marks. So we study about religion, and for that matter, which religion is right? There are different religions, monotheism, polytheism, right? We speak about Hindu religion, classic example of polytheism. We speak about Islam and Christianity, classical examples of monotheism. So, in terms of socio-cultural anthropology, we study the society around us. For example, have you heard about cross-cousin marriages in South India predominantly? What is a cross-cousin marriage? An individual marrying his mother's brother's daughter or father's sister's daughter. What do you call that? Maternal cross cousin marriage or paternal cross cousin marriage. We don't find any disagreement or criticism when we hear about cross cousin marriages, right? Bava mardal pelli cheskuntaru, right? You go to North India, that is looked at as a very disgusting act. You know why? They don't marry their mother's brother's daughter or father's sister's daughter. What do you mean by that? You belong to Hindu religion, they belong to Hindu religion. Why this difference? That is called cross-cultural differences in a given society. So all these things we study in socio-cultural anthropology. Then we come to archaeological anthropology. The moment you hear the word archaeology, I know you get a very boring picture. It is about dates and timelines. No, archaeology is very interesting. What is archaeology? In archaeological anthropology, we study about evolution of culture. For example, do we need tools for survival? Tools. What kind of tools you use in your student days? This is my tool, that is your tool, right? Initially, what used to be the occupation of human beings? Our ancestors, hunting and gathering. How do you hunt animals? Before that? Before that? Stones. How do you use stone to kill an animal? I want to kill an elephant because it's a big size and I got 80 members family or a band, small group living together. I have to feed 80 people. So how do I hunt? So initially, man used stone tools. Today, are we using stone tools for hunting? You got binocular lens fitted rifles. You got sniper rifles, right? You can shoot from 1,000 yards and you can still look at the animal. You can get a clear vision and you can shoot the animal. It will be killed within a second, right? What changed in terms of tools to kill or hunt animals? From stone tools, as my friend said, then it became spear, then became bow and arrow, right? Today, are we using them? No. What do you call that? Evolution of tools. Tools, right? That is part of archaeology. And now we are living in a very comfortable houses, right? We got such kind of concrete buildings with walls, windows, partition, door curtains, fans, air conditioner. How ancient human being lived? In caves. Cave used to be the residence. Today, this building is the residence. What happened in terms of time? Evolution change, right? How ancient human used to dress and how you people are dressing. I mean, I've seen some students, my students in earlier classes, they used to come on their birthdays, particularly girls, with a chocolate in their hand. How do they come? Are they the dress on? I don't know. What do you call that? It sweeps the floor. It is a very long dress, and as they are walking, it is just sweeping the floor very neatly. I liked it. It will reduce human effort in cleaning your surroundings, right? What do you call that? Event Ramadan? Lehenga. Okay. How ancient human beings used to dress on their birthdays? They do not have lehengas. What happened over a period of time in terms of dress? Changed. You got more choice than your ancestors. How do you believe this statement? Either in Jeptanana, archaeology. You open your grandmother's wardrobe. Avid em kattukuntundi? Antakumundu. And look at your wardrobe. How different it is. You got top, you got jeans, you got skirt, mini skirt. And according to the size and length of the skirt, there are different names given to it. Unfortunately, men do not have so much of choice, unfortunately, right? Yeah. So, as time progresses, your culture changes. What do you call that? Evolution of culture. This is what we study in archaeology. For example, we use a lot of common sense, and I try to help you to understand how we proceed in archaeological anthropology. For example, I dig a deep hole here. Okay. In the process of digging, after some time, I found a dead body, and I do not have an opportunity to see the flesh, but because of decomposition, what do I see? Bones. And beside the bones, there were iron tools put beside them. That is what I've seen when I digging something. So what should be my interpretation? When people die, their tools were buried along with them. That is the inference we can make. Why? Because there might be a religious belief behind which there is a concept called rebirth. పునర్జన్మ నమ్మితే టూల్స్ పక్కన పెడతారు. ఎందుకని? నెక్స్ట్ జన్మలో వాడికి అది అవసరం అవుతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ అ బిలీఫ్. ఆర్ you have seen a human skeleton. Beside that, there was a skeleton of an animal. What should we understand? Domestication of animals. నేను పెంపుడు కుక్కను పెంచుకున్నా, నా లాస్ట్ కోరిక ఏంటంటే నేను పోయాక అది ఎప్పుడుకో పోతుంది, నన్ను దాన్ని ఒకేసారి ఒకే పక్కనే పెట్టండి. ఎందుకని? వదిలి ఉండలేను. వాట్ యు కాల్ దట్? లవ్. నౌ హౌ షుడ్ వి ఇంటర్ప్రెట్ దీస్ థింగ్స్? Do you have evidence for that? No. Whatever you get to see in the process of archaeological excavations, we make commonsensical interpretation. For example, I'm digging somewhere near a human being or a human skeleton. I found a sickle. What is a sickle? Kodavali. What do you use? Or why do you use sickle? To cut what? Paddy field. Dan ardham enti? If I use carbon dating method and I found that a human skeleton is 5,000 years old, what should I interpret? 5,000 years ago, in this place, there was agriculture. If not for agriculture, why would they use a sickle? So what I'm trying to do? Based on my excavation findings, I'm trying to give a meaningful story which suits the description of the tools or what do you call that? The skeletons that I found in my excavation process. So archaeology, as most people believe, is not boring, but it is very interesting. Then fourth branch is linguistic anthropology. Very interesting subject and very small concept. What is linguistic anthropology? It is about how language came into existence. For example, if you ask me, as an anthropology faculty, I would be making a very bold statement. What is that? Language is the most irrational thing in this world. I don't know how many of you understand that, but that is a fact. For example, why you call banana banana? Is there any rationality behind it? What is so rational behind it? Because in your LKG, lower kindergarten, that is what your school teacher has told you. Right? Why an apple is called as apple? Is there any rationality behind giving names to fruits, flowers, vegetables, places, etc.? No logic, no rationality. And the beauty of language is, native speakers of language understand one particular thing. Non-native speakers of language understand different things in the same context. For example, I said this many times. How do you describe a young beautiful girl? మీకు బాగా అలవాటు కదా. You don't describe them. Oh God. Then it will create doubts on your preference, my friend. Come on, don't do that. అమ్మాయి బాగుందంటారా, లక్షణంగా ఉందంటారా, ఏమంటారు? కత్తిలా ఉందంటారు. If I come from a non-native cultural group or non-Telugu speaking group, how should I understand it? Then I Google it. Kattila undi. And it says knife. What is the relation between a girl and a knife here? That means non-native speakers don't understand the contextual usage of words in any language. ఈ కంటెక్స్లో కత్తి అంటే అర్థం ఏంటి? చాలా బాగుంది, షీఈస్ వెరీ బ్యూటిఫుల్, రైట్? వై యు ఆర్ నాట్ యూజింగ్ దట్ వర్డ్ దెన్? బికాస్ ఇన్ common parlance we use metaphors. What is a metaphor? A word which is used and not to be understood according to its literal meaning. For example, how did you write your exam? చింపేసా అంటావు, దాని అర్థం ఏంటి? పేపర్ చింపేసావా? దాని అర్థం ఏంటి? వాట్ యు కాల్ దట్? You could have said that I did very well, right? Or if you have to use sign language, what do you do? What is this? Zero or very good? How do you know that? మా ఊర్లో ఇట్లంటే జీరో అంటారు అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు నో. ద పాయింట్ ఈస్ లాంగ్వేజ్ ఈజ్ కల్చర్ స్పెసిఫిక్. హౌ మెనీ ఆఫ్ యు ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ రాయలసీమ? హౌ డు యూ కాల్ పిల్లో? కమ్ ఆన్, డోంట్ యూజ్ దట్. దట్ ఈస్ ఫ్రమ్ కోస్టల్ ఆంధ్ర. మెత్తలు నో, యువర్ అర్బన్ రాయలసీమ అనుకుంటా. హౌ డు యూ కాల్, వాట్ యూ కాల్ దిస్? లాక్ అండ్ కీ. సి ద ఒరిజినల్ రాయలసీమ స్లాంగ్ అది. బీగం అంటారు. వాట్ యూ కాల్ వామిట్? మీరు వహంత్ అంటారు. రాయలసీమలో బేతులు అవుతున్నాయి అంటారు. యూ నెవర్ హర్డ్ దిస్. దీస్ ఆర్ సమ్ వర్డ్స్ యూజ్డ్ ఇన్ లాంగ్వేజ్ ఇన్ ఎ పర్టికులర్ రీజన్, రైట్? వై? అందరం తెలుగు వాళ్ళమే కదా, ఎవ్రీబడి బిలాంగ్స్ టు తెలుగు స్టేట్. వై దీస్ డిఫరెన్సెస్? సమ్ వర్డ్స్ ఆర్ యూజ్డ్ ఇన్ రాయలసీమ విచ్ ఆర్ నాట్ అండర్స్టూడ్ బై పీపుల్ లివింగ్ ఇన్ కోస్టల్ ఆంధ్ర. అండ్ there is a difference in terms of slang in terms of Telangana and Andhra, right? Why do these differences crop up in the same language, in the same cultural group? So all these things we study in terms of linguistic anthropology. Okay, then coming back to why anthro, I'll give you 4 or 5 reasons. One, as I said, it is interesting, and the phenomena you study in anthropology you can observe around you. Okay. Third reason, it will help you to develop critical analytical skills which will be helpful in answers in interview, and then when you become civil servants it will help in your administration. And then because of anthropological knowledge you can write very good essays and very good case studies in ethics, and eventually very good answers in society and social justice, because you do have overlapping of syllabus. And then because of anthropology, if you see the syllabus mentioned by UPSC, syllabus is well defined and concise. What do you mean by well defined? Everything which you are going to study was printed by UPSC and is given under syllabus. Nothing outside is asked, which is a very rare phenomenon in anthropology. And what do you mean by concise and well defined? Concise means relatively less syllabus. As a result, what happens? Questions are very predictable in terms of mains. If you see PYQs, previous year question papers in anthropology mains, 90 to 95% of questions are repeated. Unlike GS questions, I've seen previous year question papers in GS and optional. In GS you do have 3-4 sentences. You need to understand the question, you need to understand the question tag. Whereas in anthropology the questions would be explain impact of Buddhism on tribal society. That's it. What do you mean by that? Questions are straightforward, questions are predictable, questions are repetitive. And for those repetitive questions, predictable questions, framework based answers will give you more marks. Now the question is, what is framework based answers? Whenever I teach anthropology in the regular classes, I begin with the framework and then I explain the concept and then I give notes. Whatever framework I give in the class, you just follow the framework, you will get a very good score, because that is how you're supposed to present your answer. For example, let us take a very basic concept. Don't get scared. Cell. What is a cell? how this is studied, how this is explained in the class. I'll write the framework. I think most of you don't know what is the framework, right? This is the framework. First point is structure of animal cell. Then within this, first one, plasma membrane. You also call this as cell membrane. Second one is cytoplasm. Within this, you got mitochondria, you got endoplasmic reticulum, you got ribosomes, you got lysosomes, you got Golgi bodies, etc. What are these names? These are like Greek and Latin to you as of now, right? These are parts of your cell. As I said many times, the moment you hear very new terminology or new concepts, focus should be on pronunciation. For example, I'm an engineer by profession. Yeah, I'm not a biology background student. I did my civil engineering, then I started my civils preparation. My options for public administration and geography initially. Okay. Selectively, careful options were selected. I got interview. Then I changed to geography. Then I changed to anthropology. Even with geography and anthropology, I've been to interview. So thrice I've been to UPSC interview. In my experience, you know what I understood? Anthropology is easy because of physical anthropology. The moment I heard about these terminologies, I've thrown the textbook aside and told my friend that na vallaga the biology. And see where I am teaching anthropology. What do you mean by that? When you hear any new things for the first time, start developing curiosity. For example, I said mitochondria. What do you mean by that? You know, right? What do you mean by powerhouse of the cell? Cell needs energy. How does energy provided to cell? From mitochondria. What do you mean by that? Every part I'm writing on the board has got one specific function to do. That is how you are sitting, paying attention, listening to me. That is how I'm standing, shouting and spending some energy, right? So whatever terminology I'm writing, I'll draw them on the board. I'll explain you the function of it. In the last orientation class, I used a topic from marriage, right? Now I just want to be very familiar in terms of physical anthropology. Now, so this is how, what do you call this? Structure of cell. And then nucleus. In nucleus again you got three different parts: nuclear membrane, nucleolus, nucleoplasm, and then functions of cell. This is called framework. This is how you're supposed to write answer in the exam. Then if the question is asked for 10 marks, you'll get 8. If you don't follow the structure, first nucleus gurutochin, you started with nucleus, you don't get 8, you get 5 out of 10. Why? You have written the same content, but there is no structure in your answer. What is structure? How do you construct a house? Starting with slab or starting with interiors? No. What do? You take the foundation, right? You dig holes and then you lay foundation and then you go for slabs and then walls. What do you mean by that? There is a structure, there is an order for everything. Likewise, there is an order for answer writing. Okay. And as far as the scoring potential of anthropology is concerned, it is highly scoring. I can give you the reasons, right? Okay, let it be. So I want to show you an answer script corrected by me. The moment I start teaching, okay, as I said, framework approach will be followed in the class. I'll be explaining you, giving notes, and then once we're done with sizable portion, we'll have tests. In the process of classroom discussion itself, I'll discuss PYQs from that particular chapter, and then once I conduct a test, I'll talk to you individually. We'll start right from very definition aspect. Okay, konచెం బయటికి వెళ్ళి ఎవరిని పిలవండి. What do you mean by that? It is about learning the art of answer writing in the classroom stage itself. By the time we are done with anthropology classes here, you should be very familiar in answer writing. I don't believe in finishing the classes first and then focusing on answer writing and then focusing on valuation. No, it doesn't happen like that. Whenever we are dealing with a topic in the class itself, we are supposed to focus on answer writing, right? Disinterested wonder gada. So to avoid that, in the classroom itself, we'll discuss some PYQs, as I said. And how do I evaluate questions? I mean, your answers. This is one of the answers written by student. So she started with a definition, right? The definition is not proper. That red ink is my handwriting, though it is shabby. Try to understand the input. If your definition is improper, I will write on your answer sheet how to write a relevant definition in the exam. Then, so some flow charts, and then she has written something which is unnecessary according to the context. So I have drawn a box and said not required because this is not the core demand of the question. So this is how I would be giving you micro level feedback in your answers. As a result, you understand what to write, what not to write in the exam. So this is a micro level scrutiny. Also, whenever you miss something, this is how I present some value additions in your answers. So she missed all this content. She missed some examples. So this is how your answers are corrected. And then to begin with, as I said, why it is popular, easy to understand, no prior academic background. So to address again the fundamental question, how many of our engineers in the class? Okay, only 3. What about others? Not from engineering background. Anybody from biology background? కోపంగా చూస్తున్నావు అబ్బాయి, నీ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ ఏంది? మీరే ఆర్ట్స్ అంటే ఏంటి? హిస్టరీ, ఎకనామిక్స్ ఏదో ఉంటుంది, ఏంది అది? తెలుగు లిటరేచర్. దేవుడా, ఏ కాలేజ్? మా యూనివర్సిటీ చాలా బ్యాడ్గా ఉంటుందా? నాగార్జున యూనివర్సిటీ. ఓకే, లెట్ ఇట్ బి. సో నాన్ ఇంజనీరింగ్, నాన్ బయాలజీ స్టూడెంట్స్ don't get scared. As I'm trying to say, the moment we are done with the classes, this happens every time. In every demo I say the same thing, and you can talk to your seniors who passed away. They were too scared like you before they decided to take anthro as optional because of physical anthropology. After classes, you know what do they say? This is the easiest module in the entire syllabus. So don't get scared. And as far as marks are concerned, this is very routine content, sources, etc. This is about how different optionals are doing in UPSC. If I share a fact, you will be surprised. Out of 100 students with anthropology who are getting into service, 90 are non-biology students. What do you mean by that? Those who do have biology background, rather than them, non-biology background students are doing very well in anthropology. You know why? The fear. Biology background ఓడికి నాకు అంతా తెలుసు అనుకుని సరిగ్గా రాయడు. నాన్ బయాలజీ స్టూడెంట్స్ కొంచెం ఒళ్ళు దగ్గర పెట్టుకుని రాస్తారు, కొంచెం రాదు కాబట్టి. యాజ్ సింపుల్ యాజ్ దట్. అపార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్, ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అ రాకెట్ సైన్స్. యూ కెన్ ఈజీలీ get hold on the subject. So what do I do? My approach is comprehensive coverage of syllabus and special focus on anthropological thought. It is a particular chapter in sociocultural anthropology. And then practice of diagrams, interactive learning, classroom material, discussion, etc. I don't know whether you are aware of the fact, I'm good at narratives. నేను కథ బాగా చెప్తాను, మీరు కూడా బాగా చెప్తారు. And you are very good. వెళ్ళొచ్చు ఇంకా. You're better than me in narratives. For example, you did something, మీ జిఎఫ్తో బిఎఫ్తో బయటికి వెళ్ళి ఉండొచ్చు. ఐ మీన్ గుడ్ ఫ్రెండ్ అండ్ బెస్ట్ ఫ్రెండ్, వాళ్ళతో సినిమాకి అట్లా వెళ్ళి ఉండొచ్చు. ఇంటికి లేట్గా పోతారు, మీ అమ్మగారు అడుగుతారు, యూ మామ్ ఆస్క్ యూ వై డిడ్ యూ కమ్ హోమ్ లేట్ అని. అప్పుడు ఏం చెప్తారు? ఆ సార్ ఉన్నాడు, ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ సార్, 2 గంటలు ఎక్స్ట్రా క్లాస్ పెట్టాడు, కనీసం వాటర్ బ్రేక్ వాష్ నా మీద నెడతారు. హౌ కుడ్ యూ డూ దట్? ఇన్ ఏ స్ప్లిట్ సెకండ్ ఒక మంచి స్టోరీ అల్లారు కదా. అంటే పేరెంట్స్ బిలీవ్డ్ ఇట్, మా అమ్మ ఎంత కష్టపడి చదువుకుంది. లైక్ వైజ్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ స్టోరీ టెల్లింగ్. I mean, very interesting, very close to the practical approach, yet it has got a story in it. For example, with this illustration, I'll leave you within 5 minutes. Whenever you look at tribals, what do you understand? Tribals చూసినప్పుడు మనకేం అనిపిస్తుంది? If you're from that particular community, don't take it personally. I'm not humiliating anybody. We use one particular term whenever we speak about tribals. What is that? They're backward, right? As if we are very progressive. But that is a perception which is denied by anthropology. Whenever we speak about conservation of environment, right? And we speak about several things, adi cheyali idi cheyalani. Have you ever saw tribals ruining the forest? Why? Because they're part of nature. Their religion, their food habit, their economic activity, it is part of nature. In terms of tools and technology, they're backward. In every other element, tribals are very progressive than us. For example, have you heard about a word called patriarchy? What is patriarchy? Male domination. You don't want patriarchy. You want to dominate, right? You want to dominate. How fair it is? What is equality then? In terms of what? Physical equality or physiological equality? Dominance. You want to control men? How bad? So why do you control, my friend? Why that word control comes into picture? When you speak about equality or equity, why are you trying to control somebody? So, no, jokes apart, why patriarchy? Anthropology will give you answer. And whenever you hear the words inequality, economic organization, political organization, and whenever you hear these things in your daily life, you don't understand why these processes takes place, right? Why this caste system? Why this majoritarianism? Why somebody is very religious? Why somebody is very scientific? So all these questions are answered in anthropology. That is why, as I said, it is about study of humans, and it is about what do you call that? Evolution of humans, and it is very interesting because you are part of it. The rumors surrounding human beings are addressed in anthropology. I'll give a narration. How do you empower tribals? Tribals ni better చేద్దాం, లివింగ్ స్టాండర్డ్స్ అంటే ఏం చేయాలి? మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ యు ఆర్ అన్ఎంప్లాయిడ్, రైట్, ఇన్ ద క్లాస్. వాట్ ఇఫ్ ఐ గివ్ యూ ఏ జాబ్ ఇన్ పిఎస్యు, పబ్లిక్ సెక్టర్ అండర్టేకింగ్లో జాబ్ వచ్చింది అనుకోండి, ఎంతమంది పోతారు? యూ డోంట్ వాంట్. అండ్ నేను ఇవ్వలేనా? ఇస్తే ఎంతమంది పోతారు? ఎవ్రీబడి మోస్ట్లీ, రైట్. వై? ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఈజీ టు గెట్ ఇన్ టు జాబ్. ఇమాజిన్, ఒక సెక్షన్కి ఒక 100 మందికి జాబ్స్ ఇచ్చాం, కొన్నాళ్ళు పనిచేశారు, దే వర్క్డ్ ఫర్ సమ్ టైమ్, సడన్లీ ఎవ్రీబడి లెఫ్ట్ దేర్ జాబ్స్ అండ్ వెంట్ టు హిల్ టాప్. హౌ డు యూ అండర్స్టాండ్ దట్? You don't understand anything. Why? Because if you look at it from your perspective, you feel that, why would somebody leave such a very good job, well paid job, secured job? That is how anthropology comes into picture and helps you to understand why a particular social group behaves in a particular way. For example, have you seen farmers cultivating their land? The moment they are about to begin cultivation in a particular sowing season, what do they do? అంటే వ్యవసాయం చూడాలి అప్పుడప్పుడు. దాని అర్థం మహర్షి సినిమా చూడమని కదా. What do? భూమి పూజ చేస్తారు, right? What do you mean by that? Why? They worship the land. Why? Somebody who studied engineering from IIT, does he understand why people worship land? You don't, right? That means why farmers behave in that particular manner, why you and I who are born and brought up in urban areas behave in this manner, the answers lies in anthropology. So the narrative is a particular tribe called Malayer tribe in Bihar, the undivided Bihar. Their living standards are very bad. People are dying, mortality is high, that is IMR, MMR are high, unemployment is high, lack of nutrition, etc. So central government and state government decided that let us provide jobs for them, and they were given jobs in clerical cadre and office boys cadre in NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, a PSU. After some time, on a given day, every Malayer tribe who got job in NTPC, they left the job, they left the township, the quarters, and went to hilltop. Both the governments did not understand why somebody is doing that. Then they called an anthropologist called LP Vidyarthi. That gentleman came, studied them, and he gave the reason why they left the job. That reason is called a concept in anthropology, nature man spirit complex. You know why? They believe that the moment they are moving away from the hilltops where they used to reside, they are not doing worship of some spirits which they used to do when they were in hilltops. Townships loki vacharu, spirits ni worship cheyadam kudaratla. As a result, what happened? They believed that people started dying. Why people started dying? That is a fact. Why people started dying? NTPCs in plain area, they used to live in hilltop. Climatic differences, allergies, and they did not trust modern medicinal systems. As a result, what happened? Some people died. And what is the reason for that mortality among this particular tribe? The tribe understood something, the fact is something. Therefore, when you become IAS, how should you deal with tribals? If you are posted in, say, Telangana, and you have become Adilabad district collector, how do you deal with them? Anthropology helps you how to deal with each socio-cultural group according to their cultural norms. How do you develop this perspective? Such kind of case studies we study in anthropology so that you become aware socially, culturally. So in a nutshell, as I'm trying to say, this is about anthropology optional. If you ask me, I can keep going on and on and on for hours together. So I don't want to scare you on the very first day. So any doubts about whether you're supposed to take this option or not, you can ask me. Or how it will help you to get into service, what are the challenges in preparation, etc. I'm here to answer your doubts. Huh? Strategy. Challenges are, you need to be regular to the class, which is toughest thing for you. You need to pay attention to my class, and you should be very interactive, because in my class I don't give one-sided lectures. Constantly I keep asking some questions. So if you don't like that interactive sessions, this is not your optional, and I am not your faculty. From your side, I expect discipline, consistency, and little bit of enthusiasm. Rest will be taken care by me. As far as sources are concerned, yes, you can buy textbooks, but I don't recommend them, because priority is class notes. Even for GS also, remember this thumb rule: single source, multiple revisions, rather than single reading of multiple sources. You land nowhere if you read multiple sources, because you don't remember anything. How do you write good answer? If you remember something, you recollect something, and then you write your answer, right? గుర్తు రావాలంటే ఏం చేయాలి? గుర్తుంచుకోవాలి. ఎట్లా గుర్తుంటుంది? ఎక్కువసార్లు చదవాలి. ఏం చదవాలి? ఒకటే సోర్స్ చదవాలి. దట్స్ ఇట్. As simple as that. And in class, I'll be dictating some notes. Some will be given in the form of PDFs, etc. So as far as material is concerned, don't worry. I'll give you more than required. మీకు కావాల్సిన దానికంటే ఎక్కువ మెటీరియల్ ఇస్తాను. If you want, I can bombard you with different PDFs. So material dearth em leda anthropology lo, it will be given to you. And as far as current affairs are concerned, you're supposed to refer to certain websites, Ministry of Tribal Affairs websites you're supposed to refer, and then you're supposed to read Yojana, Kurukshetra, and you're supposed to read down to earth magazines. And as I know, because of my experience for the past 8 years as a faculty, you don't read. So I'll read them, and I'll give you PDFs or synopsis of those magazines which are relevant for anthropology syllabus. Okay. And whatever that is in newspapers, in regular newspapers like Indian Express, Live Mint, Hindu, whatever is necessary for anthropology optional, I'll be picking up and I'll be giving you in the classroom, okay, in the form of PDF or handout. So that's it. Still, if you got doubts, you can ask me. And before you decide your optional, you check syllabus, check PYQs, then take decision. Though I teach anthropology, I don't ask you to blindly take anthropology, okay? And mostly students believe that if any subject is interesting, you're supposed to take that. No, interest is something else, and marks are something else. How do you get more marks? Based on your interest? No, based on the nature of questions asked. So that should be the criteria. Don't go by these peripheral, or what do you call that, irrelatable reasons. నాకు అదంటే బాగా ఇంట్రెస్ట్, అది అంటే సబ్జెక్ట్, ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్లో మార్క్స్ రాకపోవచ్చు. I mean, personally, if you ask me, I like public administration, I like philosophy. And most of you at this age, you may not appreciate philosophy, you don't understand philosophy. Very rarely few people appreciate philosophy at your age, right? ఇప్పుడు నాకు ఫిలాసఫీ ఇష్టం అని చెప్పి ఆప్షన్ తీసుకోకూడదు. ఎందుకని? మార్క్స్ రావాలి. అల్టిమేట్లీ ద క్రైటీరియా ఈజ్ హౌ I can get 300 in optional subjects. That's it. That should be the criteria. For that, questions should be repetitive, questions should be direct, questions should be predictable, and you need to have a faculty who guides you in answer writing and explaining the concepts. That's it. Okay. So still, if you got any doubt, you can ask me, or else we'll disperse. Since it seems like you did not have any doubt, thank you for your time and patience. See you on Monday. Those who are interested in anthropology, attend anthropology option class on Monday 7 a.m. Okay.